You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, where today I'm talking about making pivots, both unexpected ones and thought out ones, and in regards to literally any aspect of your life where a change can and will occur, especially right now, while you're in your 20s, because you're in a decade of new experiences that force you to change more times than not, and usually against your will, but you know in the end you're better for it. I know I've made a lot of pivots in my 20s, and I help my clients make their pivots because it is scary to do it all on your own, whether it's changing careers, moving cities, changing schools, changing friend groups, changing your dating life, changing how you show up, and everything in between. What happens is your brain fights itself, where half of you knows you need to change directions, and the other half is terrified of what's next, because what's next is the unknown. It's something you really can't plan for or predict the outcome of, which is why your brain is trying to stop you from stepping towards that direction. Or your brain is predicting all of the worst case scenarios, also as a way to get you to stop what you're doing. Stop changing directions. I talk about change a lot, but it's because change is constantly happening all around us. It's happening to us and for us, and every single freaking time, our brain is like, whoa, what are you doing? This could kill you. Even when you know for a fact that making something, a change, like a career change, will not put your life at an immediate risk. But back on the topic of pivoting, which is honestly an overused word since the pandemic, but I still think of the Friends episode with the couch going up the stairs and Ross yelling, "Pivot!" over and over again. Pivots happen when something doesn't go as planned and you need to change directions. But learning to pivot in moments of uncertainty or disarray is crucial to building your resilience muscles, your confidence, and your ability to create a life that actually fits you. Avoiding the pivot puts you at risk of staying stuck in a life that isn't right for you. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It's never going to work out if you stay in the same wrong spot. So, what do you do when you reach the oh shit, something's gotta change moment? Well, that's what I'm here to talk with you about. This episode is hopefully going to help you feel better about the pivots you will make in your life, or maybe you've already made them, as well as why they feel so sucky in the moment, and how to pivot as gracefully as possible. So let's start with normalizing the pivots that occur in adulthood. There are career ones, like changing your major, picking a new career that has nothing to do with what you went to school for, leaving the safe path of a corporate job for the world of entrepreneurship, going back to school for something else, taking a sabbatical or time off altogether, having a full-time job and then taking a step back with a part-time job. There are so many different ways you can change your career, and it's going to look different depending on the person. I remember I was working with a gentleman named Will a couple of years ago, and he came to me shortly after being laid off from his job, and he didn't know if he wanted to change industries, get his MBA, or start his own company. And those are three very different options. After coaching together, his path led him to first changing industries, knowing that he would be taking a pay cut by going back to an entry-level position in something new. But it was with the mission to eventually go out on his own and have his own advertising business. Career pivots definitely look a lot like putting your ego aside, because you're going to feel like a failure or behind when compared either to your peers or to where you thought you would be by a certain point in time. But you have to remind yourself that these changes are happening to support you in the long term. Sure, you could stay at the same job and advance your career path because you've already put in a few years to this company or this career and now you're climbing the invisible ladder. But what happens 10 years from now when you're still miserable or when nothing's changed when you thought it would? The longer you take to make the pivot because of your ego or stubbornness, the harder it's going to be to try out something new. And we get more stubborn with age and less risk adverse because more things get put on the line. It's your reputation, your mortgage, your family, your lifestyle. All of that becomes greater as you get older, meaning the less likely you are going to be to make a pivot. Another good example is my client's boyfriend had a full-time job working as a child's therapist. And after 1 year of working in the real world, he quit it and is now working part-time at a pickleball place. He got burnt quickly from his field, potentially just his company, and needed to take a break in order to figure out his next steps. And there is nothing wrong with that. It's just scary because it's unconventional, and it's not what you originally had in mind. Similarly, making a pivot in your relationship, like calling off a long-term relationship because you know this is not who you're going to marry. It's scary to step out of a relationship that might not even be bad, just not totally for you, because it brings in this fear that you won't find anyone better, that you're making a grave mistake, and that you're going to end up single for life. But you have to have faith that there is someone out there for you who is a perfect match, or that you are better off single than with someone you aren't 100% about, while also doing that other person a favor of freeing them to find someone who will love them 100%. I know I was scared to leave my ex because I was craving a sense of familiarity, even though I had so many doubts about our future together and the way he treated me. But I was about to make all of the pivots, like leaving my full-time job for my business and moving to a new city in a new state. I just reached a point where his familiarity wasn't worth it anymore, and I'd rather make these other changes alone than with him. Which, it is so common to want to hold on to what's familiar when everything in your life is changing because it provides you with a sense of comfort and stability. You just have to have enough awareness and guts to step into the instability on your own. Another pivot in your 20s is changing cities, where maybe you had a vision of your life in a certain city and it's not turning out to be what you thought, so you're ready to move cities and change up your environment. Maybe your reason for changing cities was to chase an opportunity. Maybe you followed a boyfriend or a girlfriend and then you broke up. So it means starting over with new friend groups, joining different hobbies, exploring different areas. I moved to Orlando for a job and to Charlotte for myself, and I don't regret either reason for moving. But it did come with a lot of other changes in my life. There's other changes that happen too, like shifting your habits, where you go from partying or eating out to being asleep by 9 p.m. on a Friday night and meal prepping most of your weekly meals. If you were a college athlete and have a desk job now, then your identity makes a pivot as you become a NARP, a non-athletic regular person, where no one knows you for your high-level athleticism, so you have to redefine who you are and what you like to do in your free time. There are so many times you're going to change your direction from career to relationships to locations, hobbies, habits, financial decisions. Think anything you can change, which is everything, and realize that pivots happen within each of them. Some are just more drastic than others in the way that more than one thing is changing as a result of this pivotal moment, or it'll lead to other things changing down the line. And it's also important to recognize that some pivots are slower to take place, and some are a lot more immediate. Both are scary, and both require you to adjust your expectations, ego, and plans, because pivoting does feel like starting over. It does feel like falling behind. It does feel like you failed. But none of those things are true for making a change in your life that serves you best. So, let's shift gears into how you go about making a pivot once you've realized the direction you're going right now is no longer where you want to head. For one, you need to start small. This is going to prevent your brain from having a total freak out moment with rapid changes occurring. If it's a career change, start with the first step. Research what is required of a new career. Or if you don't even know what to change to, just that what you're currently doing isn't it, then start with trying a new interest or diving deeper into an old interest. That's how I got into personal training. I had an interest in fitness and wanted to learn more, not even as a way to change my career path, but also knowing that it did present me with another option outside of interior design. So I went and became certified during my pandemic unemployment. If you're pivoting out of a relationship, start with making a list for what you do want in a future partner. If you're moving to a new location, start with researching events or the weather or different neighborhoods in a new area. If you're changing your health, it starts with making one small change in your existing lifestyle, like going to bed 10 minutes earlier or waking up 10 minutes earlier. It's drinking an extra glass of water or adding an extra ounce of chicken or protein to your dinner. I recently had a call with someone about wanting to begin nutrition coaching with me, and he was all in. And then he admitted, except for the part of his brain that was like, no change. And I had to coach him off a ledge, talk him off the ledge, by explaining to him that it's my job to make these changes so seamless that you don't even realize they're happening. There is no deprivation, no cutting things out, but rather focusing on what you can add into your life or add into your diet. Big pivots start with small changes. It's why there's a saying that small hinges swing big doors. It's because it's a gradual build. Providing this pivot is not immediate, but more in your control, which isn't going to happen with every single pivot in your life. But small steps even look like having conversations with other people about different paths based on your category of pivot. The second part, and arguably the most important part when it comes to making this pivot, is to release the end result. Don't focus on the bigger, grander plan. Focus on exploring what could be next for you, while also knowing that that could change down the line. That also coincides with release your attachment to the right plan, or the way things were supposed to be. That this was supposed to be your career, or you're supposed to have a stable job. That this was supposed to be the person you were going to marry, that this was supposed to be the city you were going to settle down in. It's hard when we tie some giant piece of our identity to an outcome we imagine for ourselves, and when it doesn't go as planned, we feel lost. So be okay with not knowing the outcome. You're going to be better off for when life throws you an unexpected wrench and you have to pivot in that moment. It's going to help you be more resilient to what's happening and more open to what could be next. Without being too corny, your adult life is going to be filled with never-ending pivots in ways you might least expect it to happen. But it's all necessary as you move through your journey of creating a life you want for yourself. And regardless of what area of your life is calling for this change, it's all going to feel the same. But what's nice is that the process to embracing it is also going to be the same. And I get it. Pivoting sucks, especially in the moment, but it's part of being an adult. Things change, plans change, and pivoting just serves as another reminder that you're not supposed to have it all figured out. That no one ever has it all figured out. So the point of making this pivot isn't to know exactly where you're going next. It's just to realize that the old path isn't the right one for you anymore. If you're listening because you're at the something's gotta change point, then great. What's one small step you can take to get you on a new path without being focused on whether or not it's the right path or how it'll impact the rest of your life? Because at the end of the day, every pivot you will ever go through is just part of the process to carving out your unique life. A life that is more you and less everyone else. It's just the first time you're experiencing these molds because you've entered adulthood where there are a lot more choices and paths than you've ever seen in your entire life. So it's going to be scary, if not overwhelming at times. Which is why I keep saying start with one step and release the what happens next expectations. Lean into the unknown. You'll be better off for it. And if you ever need help with your pivot so you don't spiral out in the process, then please know I am always one click away from scheduling a call. The link to my calendar is always in the show note for you guys to access where it says, let's chat. But otherwise, this does conclude another episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, if you've experienced your own pivot, or if you know someone who is going through one right now, then shoot them this episode. Post to social media and tag me at coach.justdiamond when you do so I can see it. But please, whatever you do, help me expand my reach of this podcast. I can't do it alone, and I know there are so many 20-somethings out there who need to listen to me talk as they try to navigate the most confusing decade of their life. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.